Hollywood Boulevard sparkled with illusions of success, dreams, and camera flashes. But to Ava Carter, it looked like a glass window she couldn't break through. She had come to Los Angeles with a single suitcase, $200, and a heart full of faith that the world would recognize her talent. Instead, she found hunger, rejection, and the heavy ache of reality. The city glowed for others, not for her. She wasn't one of Hollywood's finest. She was invisible, a wandering soul with a belly round and heavy with life, walking sidewalks that glittered at night but burned her feet by day. Ava had been 5 months pregnant when her boyfriend told her dreams were foolish, that she should quit acting school, that there was no place for girls like her in LA. He left before the sun came up the next morning. No note. No explanation. Just the unspoken message that she would face life alone. So she stayed. For years, she believed leaving would mean failure. She worked as a waitress, auditioned whenever she could, lived in shared apartments, attended acting workshops, and convinced herself she belonged. But the city had a way of choosing its favorites, and she wasn't one of them. Her belly grew and hours at work decreased. Rent rose and support faded. She didn't notice the moment she went from struggling to sinking, until she found herself sitting on a bench near the Walk of Fame, clutching a bag with 3 outfits, a pair of shoes, and a baby blanket she had knitted for a child who wasn't even born yet. The stars beneath her feet carried names of legends, while she felt like she was disappearing. She stayed at shelters when she could, slept under awnings when she couldn't. Late nights filled with sirens, loud arguments, and footsteps that never felt safe. Every morning brought judgmental glances, people holding their bags tighter, crossing to the other side of the sidewalk. They didn't see a woman fighting for her life, just someone who didn't belong in the narrative of golden California dreams. One late evening, her back screamed with pain as she leaned against the wall of a closed souvenir shop, hunger twisting inside her. A street performer dressed as a silver robot paused and handed her a bottle of water before walking on. That tiny gesture felt like grace, someone noticing she existed. Ava whispered to the baby inside her, "We're going to get through this, okay? Mommy's not giving up on you." She believed in that promise, even when the world laughed at it. Nights in Hollywood could be cruel. Lights flickered, cars sped by, voices in the alley echoed. Sometimes drunk strangers threw insults. Sometimes they tossed spare coins without looking. But sometimes, rarely, kindness visited. A cafe worker often sneaked her leftover sandwiches wrapped in paper napkins. A tourist once dropped a $20 bill in her lap without meeting her eyes. Little acts of humanity that kept her soul breathing. Her due date crept closer, her belly heavy, ankles swollen, back throbbing. She held her hands over her stomach when fear rose, not for herself, but for the child who deserved more than concrete floors and uncertainty. One night, rain fell, washing the city in silver reflections. Ava crouched beneath the awning of an old theater, hugging herself while cold wind sliced through her thin sweater. She shivered, teeth chattering, when a contraction pulsed sharp and deep. Pain traveled from her spine to her abdomen, taking her breath. She gripped the metal railing beside her, gasping. This wasn't just discomfort, it was beginning. Inhale. Exhale. She whispered to herself, panic swirling. She didn't have a ride. She didn't have a phone. She only had her body, trying to bring a life into the world in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard. Another contraction. Stronger. She winced, leaning forward, one hand on her belly, the other clutching her worn backpack. Across the street, a man exiting a black SUV paused when he saw her collapse to her knees. He was tall, expensive coat draped perfectly, the kind of face that lived on billboards. Actors walked among the ordinary here, but Ava was too distracted by pain to notice who he was. The man hurried across the street, ignoring the honk of a frustrated driver. "Miss, are you okay?" he asked. She shook her head, tears forming. I think the baby's coming." He dialed 911 immediately. His voice was calm but urgent, guiding paramedics to their location. Then he knelt beside her, placing his coat around her shoulders, shielding her from the rain. "You're going to be all right," he assured her, supporting her as another wave of pain hit. "Stay with me. Help is on the way." She clung to his sleeve, trembling. "Please, don't leave me." "I won't," he promised. Minutes felt like hours, but soon an ambulance arrived. Ava cried out as they lifted her onto the stretcher. She reached for the man's hand one last time. "Thank you," she whispered. "Stay strong," he told her. "You're not alone." She didn't know his name, but his kindness wrapped around her heart like warmth in the coldest winter. Inside Cedars-Sinai Hospital, she labored through the night, breath by breath, tear by tear. Nurses coached her, doctors encouraged her, and after hours of pain and courage, a cry filled the room. A baby girl. Tiny. Perfect. Wrapped in a soft blanket. Ava's heart burst open. Tears ran freely as she held the small miracle to her chest. "Welcome to the world," she whispered. "Mommy loves you so much." She named her Grace, because that's what had carried them through. The next day, a social worker gently discussed options: shelters, city programs, housing waitlists. Ava listened, exhausted yet determined. She wasn't giving her daughter a life on the street. She would do whatever it took. A nurse entered later with a small gift bag: baby clothes, diapers, a bottle, a plush bunny. "A man dropped this off for you," she said. He didn't leave his name. Inside the bag was also a card: "For you and your little star. Keep believing." Attached was a business card for a women's support foundation. Hope rose in Ava's chest like sunrise. Weeks passed. With help from the foundation, Ava entered a program for young homeless mothers. They provided temporary housing, therapy, prenatal care follow-ups, financial guidance, and, most importantly, dignity. She got meals, clean clothes, and a crib for Grace. For the first time in months, she slept without fear. She took parenting classes, learned budgeting, applied for assistance, and slowly stitched a future together. Every night she looked at her daughter and whispered, "We are going to rise." One afternoon, the foundation director approached her. "Ava, one of our donors heard your story. He owns a community art studio and acting program. They have scholarships for women rebuilding their lives. He asked me to invite you." Ava's breath caught. Acting. A chance to dream again. She kissed Grace's forehead and whispered, "We're not done." The program welcomed her with warm smiles and genuine support. Ava stood in front of the mirror, script in hand, and rediscovered her voice. Her scars gave her emotions depth. Her struggle became strength. Directors noticed. Students admired her resilience. She wasn't the girl chasing fame anymore. She was a mother building a future with grit and grace. Months turned into hope. Hope into progress. She got a part in a small independent film about a young woman fighting to survive in a ruthless city. Her performance was raw, honest, real, born from a life she'd lived. At the film's screening, while holding baby Grace in her lap, she saw him again, the man from that rainy night. He approached her with a warm smile. "You made it," he said. Ava's eyes filled. "We're still on the way. You're stronger than most people in this town," he replied sincerely. "And your daughter is lucky. She has a mother who never gave up." Ava looked down at Grace sleeping peacefully and smiled. Yes, she had walked streets meant for stars, slept under signs promising dreams to the chosen few. But she had found something more powerful than fame. She had found her purpose, her strength, her story. And one day, when people would ask how she made it, she would look at her daughter and say, "I became a mother on the streets of LA, and that's where I learned what real courage is." Hollywood lights shined brighter for her now, not because she needed them, but because she had earned her place under them. And she would make sure her daughter grew up knowing that miracles are often born in the darkest corners, that strength blooms in silence, and that even in a city built on illusion, real dreams begin with love and determination. Ava smiled as she walked outside with Grace in her arms, sunlight warming her skin. Not a star on the sidewalk bore her name yet, but someday, maybe. For now, she carried her future in her arms, and that was enough. Because Hollywood had tried to break her, but she rose anyway. She was one of Los Angeles's finest. Not because fame crowned her, but because motherhood shaped her, hardship strengthened her, and love saved her. And her little girl, her Grace, would grow up knowing her mama never quit. And that sometimes, the brightest stories begin in the darkest nights, right there on the streets where dreams are tested.